What's up, everyone? Grayson the Dean 221 Nichols here on the Elite Rounders YouTube channel as always. And since we are waiting a couple weeks for the next round of the duel, we are going to again look back at some classic hands between Mr. Phil White Magic Hellmuth and Daniel Negreanu. Today's hand takes place from one of the original seasons of high stakes poker. I think they filmed this back at the Golden Nugget. It was a 400, 800 game. You had Doyle in the game. Jerry Buss, the owner of the Lakers, was there. You know, Ellie Lesra, Jennifer Harmon, just the old crew, right? And I got to say, it's great just seeing like them with the bricks of cash and stuff. Like, I really miss watching those games when I was coming up in poker as well. So it's cool to see that they're, getting these going again, right? But before we hop into the hand, I want to remind you guys of a little giveaway we're doing here at Elite Rounders. If you go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at Elite Rounders on Instagram, and then post here in the comments of this page your Instagram name, we will enter you into a raffle for a free month of poker coaching. So definitely hop into that. We will be drawing the winner on April 30th, next week. So let's hop into the hand now. Like I said, the action's 400, 800. Everyone's sitting very deep. And Hellmuth decides to open the pot with ace-4 offsuit to 3,500. I would say that's a pretty questionable raise in the first place. I guess it depends who's in the blinds, if you have a good chance of stealing. I think ace-4 suited, definitely good open here. Ace probably 9 or ace 10 off plus is reasonable too, but this felt a little marginal. But I also get the vibe that Phil was steaming, as is evidenced from the way this hand plays out. So Phil opens to 3,500 and Daniel makes like a min 3-bet to 7,000 with the ace 10 off. I think this is a cool play by Daniel because I think that it isolates Phil, who seems like he's tilting at the moment. And it gets everyone else out. And there's a good chance that Phil would even just call with something like ace jack, ace queen, and Daniel would be able to win on innocuous boards, right? So I think this is a good play by him, makes a ton of sense. And Daniel goes ahead and bets 10,000 before even seeing the flop, which works out really well for him, as you can imagine. Phil says, I think you have jacks right off the bat, which is kind of interesting and comes to play later. So flop comes out a monster for Daniel. He hits top 2 pair, and Phil flops a pair of aces. So Daniel said he was going to bet 10,000, and sure enough, he bets the 10,000, and Phil goes ahead and calls. I think it's standard at this point. Good call by Phil. Makes sense. And this is where it gets a little weird. The turn comes an offsuit deuce. It does put the backdoor flush draw out there. However, Daniel is holding the ace of clubs, so this is not something he needs to worry about blocking that. And Phil checks again. And this is where Phil kind of like buries himself. I think, again, he doesn't notice how much he hurts himself with some of his dialogue. And I would recommend going back and watching our hand where Doug Polk folds the second nut straight against Hellmuth when Hellmuth had the nuts. And Hellmuth hurt himself there with some poor dialogue that kind of gave away the strength of his hand, right? And so here Daniel bets 25,000 and Phil calls. And as Phil calls, he says, I think you have queens, I call. I think this makes Phil very face up as an ace. Nothing better, just something like, I would probably, if I was Daniel, I'd probably put him on ace jack, ace queen, maybe like an ace 9 suited, ace 8, ace 7, something like that. And I think when he does this, it makes it really easy for Daniel to kind of just play accordingly against him, right? And you got to love this 100% marker right here next to Daniel. So the action's back to Phil, who gives him the old stare down. Like I said, he goes, I think you have queens. I'm going to call. Almost just straight up implicitly telling him what he has, which is not a good idea when you're up against a good player like Daniel. So the river comes to 7 of clubs. And again, some people, I feel like I talk about this with my students a lot, they seem to be scared of flushes often. And I say, listen, make sure you're thinking about what combinations they can have, what would actually make sense for them to have here, right? Don't just get worried of those monsters under the bed, as I like to call it. And I think Daniel has no fear of the flush here for a couple of reasons. A, like we said, he's blocking the ace of clubs in this spot. And then B, what club combos would Phil be calling this whole way with? I think if he had called flop with king, queen of clubs, king, jack of clubs, the turn would have been an easier call for him, and he likely wouldn't have used that little dialogue about, I think you have queens, right? Especially if he had something like king, queen of clubs, So I think Phil kind of hurt himself and made it pretty clear what he has. And so it's a really easy value bet for Daniel at this point, knowing that his top two pair is definitely good. It would be completely shocking if Phil somehow had a set of sixes here. It just would not really, vibe with the way that he played the hand. So I think this is an easy value bet for Daniel. And as Daniel's reaching for the cash, Phil even goes, don't bet more than 10K. Another just like mind blowing slip up, I believe, by him. And so Daniel takes a second and then he bets 50,000. And Phil goes into the tank for not too long before eventually calling and seeing the bad news where Negreanu flips over his top two pair confidently and scoops what I think was, yeah, about $165,000 pot. So nothing to sneeze at here. And in excellent fashion, our favorite moment, Mr. Hellmuth just completely tilts his face off, stands up, and drops about 10 F-bombs in succession, complaining, kind of making it look like he might have had ace jack or ace queen, I think, to make it look like he got sucked out on, the whole if there was no luck involved, I'd win all of them type spiel. And even though we all know by looking at the cards that he had ace four and he was just completely done the whole time. So pretty cool hand. Again, great watching these two battle it out. I recommend going back and watching some of the old high stakes poker episodes if you haven't seen them. Poker Go has every single season. And there's just some great ones in the vault that are really fun to watch. And, I love watching these two battle. And I'm really stoked to watch the next Duel episode coming out in a couple weeks. So keep an eye out. Go ahead, subscribe here on our YouTube channel so you'll see when the new videos pop up. And once again, also don't forget about the raffle again. So subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, and post your Instagram name here in the chat. And we'll get you signed up for that raffle. And we'll be drawing on April 30th for a free month of poker coaching. Definitely keep an eye out for the next video where we're going through these guys' hands, and looking forward to the next battle of the duel. I got to win my money back from my student, so I'll certainly be betting on Daniel again this time. Best of luck to you all this week, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care and good luck.